Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm John Gray. We're just plain living here, and it's Vintage Tie Day.
I love your vintage tie. I'm Peggy
Thank
Burton,
you.
by the way. How vintage is your tie?
That tie right there is probably from the, let me see. That tie is probably from the 40s.
You're kidding me. And that's what we're going to do with the band at South Jackson on July 22nd.
Oh, yeah?
We're honoring the 40s and World War II. So you can wear that tie.
Wear that vintage tie, yeah. I mean, you go in old clothing stores, old vintage clothing stores, and a lot of people do that. And of course, I love, this is an Art Deco piece right here.
Yeah.
And the thing, the thing about it is, see that big sort of dark spot right there? That's part of the tie. But if it were a greasy gravy spot, you never would know the difference because it belongs.
You just have it. You're prepared.
Yeah, that's what's good about that.
Yeah.
So this morning,
Very artistic.
as I was thinking, I've finished my Loku book. I've got 366 in it, and I thought, well, I can't just quit writing them, so I'm going to do Loco Afterglow is what I'm going to call the rest, whatever it is. It'll just be the Afterglow.
All right.
Days beginning, not what you wish, kind of flat like an unseasoned dish. You can fix it before you fly. Spice yourself up with a vintage tie.
I like it. I like it.
Because you look at something like that, you just smile. It makes you smile.
Right.
You're carrying something different into your day, something happy.
Something happy, something to talk about.
So spice yourself with a vintage tie.
All right. I like it.
That was one movie, How to Get Rid of a Man in 10 Days. Matthew McConaughey and Kate Hudson.
That was a good movie.
And one of the things that I thought was a great line, he was in the advertising, and they were having this contest to sell stuff and jewelry for this huge jewelry manufacturer, and they came up with the idea of frost yourself.
Frost yourself?
Yeah, so to a woman who is a wonderful piece of cake, the coup de grace is the frosting that goes on it. So a piece of jewelry could be considered as frosting.
It's frosting, right.
So, or at least a sprinkle.
Yeah.
So, frost yourself, spice yourself with a vintage tie.
That's nice. I like it. Any more?
So did you watch the Kennedy Center the other night?
I did not have the time. I don't need to tell you why, but
no, okay. But they had five people that won the Kennedy Center Award.
About it, so I know who all was on it.
And it was Joan Baez, who's the dancer? I just forgot her name again. Debbie Allen, who's famous from Fame. But I didn't realize she ended up being a producer, and she produced Grey's Anatomy.
She is amazing.
Amazing individual, and
really
gives back. You know, the thing about most of these people is what they've given back.
Yeah. James Taylor, was he on?
Yeah, well, James had won years ago. A lot of these people who performed, but there were a lot of performers.
So did somebody perform his music? Was that what happened? Or was he on?
No, he was a performer.
Okay.
But there was a Mandela, who is a Japanese violinist who is like the foremost in the world. I mean, Perlman bows down to her.
Right.
And she was a prodigy at 8 years old, a little bitty woman.
Right.
But she is an older woman now, and she has given so much back to music and children, and making sure no matter how much money you have in the bank, you can have a violin in your hand if you need it.
That's beautiful. That is really special.
And then there was Dick Van Dyke, the Dick Van Dyke Show, Mary Poppins, and it went through his whole thing.
Mary Tyler Moore, is that?
Mary Tyler Moore was his wife.
On Mary Poppins was when he was on the roof.
That was Julie Andrews.
Yeah, that was on the roof. He was on the roof.
He was on the roof
stuff,
dancing and all of that stuff. And then Garth Brooks. And James Taylor sang The River. Garth Brooks' song "The River." There were people. Sturgill Simpson sang "City of New Orleans," which was one of Joan Baez's songs, and it went through their life, the life history, and there was a lot of absolutely wonderful music. Gladys Knight sang Garth Brooks's "We Shall Be Free."
Yeah.
So it was just a beautiful, beautiful ceremony, beautiful night, and country music had a very great representation there. Sure did.
Fabulous. Country music has come a long way, hasn't it?
Well, they've been plucking just like blues guys have been plucking.
There was a time when it was just all about drinking and
well, it's still all about drinking and trucks.
Dog, but now it's got a lot of other.
Well, but
subjects.
you look back at Bob Wills and those guys who traveled. They had a full band just like you have.
Yeah.
So country and western back in those days was swing music, and it was a orchestrated, very much orchestra involved in it.
But I somehow can't imagine that they actually had music scores for all that. A lot of it was just done, improvised.
Well, they did though, Peggy, because they were playing in New York and California, and it was a big deal. And those, people kind of poo-poo country music a lot about talent, but some of the best players in the world play country music.
Well,
the only thing they don't have is they don't have horns.
Chet Atkins, for a starter, he was
Bridge Over Troubled Water. You take that song, Simon and Garfunkel. You know who came up with the lead intro that brands that song forever? Is the Sessions piano player. They didn't come in there with that written. The piano player wrote it on the spot. Very, very talented people.
Yeah. We got a lot. We've had
music never dies, folks. Don't ever give up on your music, and go out and search for something new.
Well, and write your own song. That's
Write your own song.
Tell your own story.
Everybody can do that. Hey, when is Father's Day? Next week? Randy, when's Father's Day? When?
I think it is
20th.
That's 2 weeks.
So I'm gonna read this anyway.
That's all right. You're a father. We'll give you permission to read.
Father. My dad was a good father, but at times a tough man whose rule was difficult to live under. He was a farm boy turned World War II pilot. He was a regimented, straight by the book kind of hard ass that made sure all of the boxes were checked and the paperwork was properly stored before his softer side could sneak in for a moment or two. Always keep your paperwork, he said.
Yeah.
Always keep your paperwork. He loved us all and saw that we had all required for success in whatever we attempted. Dad was a tough cookie. He loved animals and a good practical joke. On numerous occasions, his advice would be, keep your paperwork and always pay attention to small children and animals. Life is interesting. Life was interesting around my dad. I had great respect for my dad. Even if I was upset or mad at him, I never spoke of him or to him with disrespect. Yes, he was a human and made mistakes, but he always owned them in an honorable fashion. That is the word I've been looking for, honorable. My dad lived his life with honor, and what person is not to be respected for that? I loved my dad, and I know he loved me. Thanks, Dad.
That's sweet. I love my dad, too. And he never said anything that I didn't think was
gospel
and true and honest, and he believed in a hard day's work.
Yeah.
If you want something, you got to go out there and work for it.
And work and show up.
Show up. Get up.
15 minutes. 15 minutes early. 15 minutes early is late.
Right. No, he always said, if you're on time, you're late.
Yeah.
And that's true. That is true.
You know, I can't understand how people who have a shift, you know, you come in on a shift, your shift starts at 8 o'clock.
And you get there at 8 o'clock.
You get there at 8 o'clock. You don't, you know, your machine's not turned on, your gloves aren't on, you haven't checked your fryer or how many burgers are on the grill. You can't start work the minute you show up. You got to get ready to go to work.
Right. So that's
show
really
up early.
important.
Impress your boss. Guess what? You might get a raise. And have your underwear. Don't come in with your underwear showing.
You might become the boss.
Huh? You might become the boss.
That's the good part.
But nobody wants to see your underwear. I just guarantee you that. They just don't want to say, who cares? Yeah. Don't have your pants down around your knees.
That is one of the fashion traditions that I have failed to find significant.
How do you, and the thing about it is, if you get in trouble, and a lot of those people end up getting in trouble, how do you run from the police with your belt around your knees?
Very hard to do.
The police love to see those cats. They don't even have to run after them. All they have to do is just walk over and pick them up off the ground where they trip and fall down.
You know, do you remember, I can't remember who it was, Slim Jim or something, some really tall,
Slim Pickens.
Well, a skinny guy on Hee Haw that...
Yeah, that's Slim Pickens.
Was that who he was?
Yeah.
And he did that. He wore his...
He was so tall he swore.
Yeah, to make himself look even taller.
His legs looked like they were that long, you know, and
so
he was about 7 feet.
He started that trend.
Yeah. Slim Pickens.
I thought it was fabulous.
I saw we were in Murfreesboro yesterday doing some stuff, and I saw a food store that said Slim Chickens.
Slim Chickens?
Well, to me, that means you ain't going to get much chicken on your sandwich. I don't know whether that's a really good name for a food place or not.
Well, I do know we don't want chickens all puffed up with steroids and stuff, so maybe that's what it was about.
Maybe so.
But Slim Chickens.
Slim Chickens. You ain't got no Slim Chickens here. Look at that pandemic pounds. I guarantee you. We all got a little. We all eating too much chicken, I guess. But what we're going to do right now is take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back and hopefully entertain you for a little while longer.
Clayton's has been Tullahoma's shoe store for over 120 years, and Florence Hall continues that tradition today. We're the only shoe store in town that starts with measuring your foot to make sure you get the perfect fit in a quality shoe. That includes narrow through wide widths for men, women, and children. Clayton Shoes, the family shoe store you'll love.
We're gonna fit your style. We're gonna make you smile. Service and quality at Clayton Shoe Store. We're gonna fit your style.
My husband was diagnosed with a spinal infection. He lost his ability to swallow and the movement of his legs.
I couldn't turn over in bed, I couldn't walk, I couldn't eat.
They were just wonderful in the treatment and care they gave my husband.
I regained my mobility where I was able to go home.
It is miraculous.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
Talking history about this and that. It's Conversations with John and Pat. With John and Pat. With John and Pat.
Hello everyone, I'm John Rickman.
And this is Pat Welch, and John, we're here today for segment 73 of the Conversations with John and Pat.
Now I know that a lot of people out there think you boys spend a lot of time studying your subject matter and doing this, but Pat and I want you to know that we don't spend a lot of time. We lived a lot of this sort of thing. You remember the basketball teams, the football teams, what THS has done. And I look, I've been around Chapel Hill and Tullahoma a long time, and we sort of.
Sometimes our perception may be slanted to our own.
It is,
view.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
It is,
Yeah.
in my opinion, for sure. But Tullahoma is a wonderful place to live. But I started out in Chapel Hill, Tennessee. And over in Chapel Hill, there is a strange ghost light over the railroad track. And
which we talked about in segment 1.
that was one of our best segments, Pat.
it
And ever
was.
since that time, we've gone downhill.
But today, back. We're on our way back.
We're going to
73 will equal 1 if we can.
Yes, and the Chapel Hill Ghost Light is known for around this area. And when I was a youngster, I guess my father took me down. I can't remember how I got there. A lot of things you can't remember, but I remember standing on the railroad tracks, and these old codgers, like our age right now, they would be standing there telling me stories about the ghost light, and it wouldn't be anything but just we'd be looking out in the darkness, and they'd be telling these tales, and it just like telling ghost stories around a campfire. And you'd get sort of a chill, and then you'd see something down the way. Is that it? And it would come up or back or side, however, and then it grew and grew, the name of the light.
And the appeal grew and grew. And we said we were in segment 1, John, if you'll remember. By the time that reputation came to Tullahoma, it came, especially in the 60s. That's a little bit ahead of my time, but a lot of the high school kids would take their dates to the light, and the women were more wanting to be a little cozy because they were afraid, and of course the male sometimes would kind of put him in a tough position. He had to act like he wasn't scared, and he was. But
let's get in the car and go.
Yeah, let's see that ghost light.
We're going to show a segment not too long ago.
Now, before you do it,
Yes.
John, I'm going to interrupt here.
Yeah. Okay.
We've had a lot of discussion, and on this publicity or team media group comes in from Nashville and sloughs me out. And then also in segment 1, there's a little reluctance to tell about actually what's supposed to happen, how this ghost came about. A man was walking on the railroad tracks at some point, and when the train ran over him, he lost his head. And that is so grotesque that I think the Chapel Hill people try to gloss it over a little bit, maybe. But the light then is the ghost supposed to be looking for his head. And as you pointed out, it's hard to understand how you could look for your head. Normally your eyes would be in the
But
head.
a spirit maybe can do that.
Correct.
And that's
so you asked that question, and I couldn't believe it.
There, and on this segment we're going to show in a minute after we be quiet and let you see it.
After I be quiet.
No, both of us be quiet. There's a fella named Skip Agent who dies on the railroad track June 8, 1942, and from that time on the light was seen. Somebody indicated that his body was put there by somebody else. Who knows? I don't know that. That was just some of the talk. But the person who signed the death certificate was Ms. Mary Roselle,
who was not a coroner.
She was not the coroner. But she signed where the coroner would have a signature. She was just the county health nurse. She would give us our vaccines. Kids would line up. She would give us our shots, our vaccines, or whatever. She was a county nurse. She lived in Chapel Hill, but she was the one who signed the paper. I guess that's enough talk about this. We need to get probably to seeing what Channel 2 TV. They called me from Chapel Hill and said, "You've written this song about the light. Would you come and be interviewed?"
Did they say anything that we understand that you have a show in Tullahoma?
And a sidekick? No, I didn't mention your name at all, Pat.
Well, let me get one more lick in. We also talked about how could this light? Because there's no question that there is a light at some point, at some times, And I mentioned that there's a lot of fog in that area at certain times of the year, and that there's some theories that this light could be caused by refraction of light.
Fire.
And you pointed out
swamp gas.
Yeah.
Phosphorus.
Well,
in
when
the
I mentioned
air.
refraction of light, you said that was an awful nice
That's
term.
a big term.
That,
Who taught you? Max Weaver? Or no, Ms. Weaver. Who taught you?
Mr. Crossland had him for physics. That could explain it. Just because y'all didn't have physics.
You're just too well educated, Pat.
Just because there wasn't any physics in Chapel Hill, don't criticize.
Sometimes you be too smart.
I never have had that problem. Let's roll the film, Philip. We regress.
Chapel Hill, the townspeople tell a tale of a strange light along the dark train tracks.
Some have reportedly even died just trying to catch a glimpse of it. Josh Breslow continues our day-long Haunted Tennessee coverage with a look at the mysterious Chapel Hill ghost light.
Many years ago along the railroad track one night, a man was walking home and held a lantern for his light.
A town of nearly 1,500.
He never heard the whistle scream or the mighty engine pound. He never even knew it when that freight train ran him down.
Chapel Hill is home to one of Tennessee's most haunted tales.
The engineer ran back in time to see the poor man die. But as he neared the tragic spot, a light rose in the sky. There's a ghost light over the railroad, shining in the Chapel Hill sky.
Claiming to have seen the Chapel Hill ghost light himself, songwriter John Rickman has heard just about every variation of the story behind it.
It's known pretty far and wide.
Most involve a headless signalman or train brakeman wandering the tracks using the light to guide his way. But if you ask Rickman, only one tale is true.
His name was Skip Agent.
Many years ago, Skip was hit by a train.
He was killed, and from that point on, the light was seen out here after that time.
The birth of the ghost light.
It goes across the track, sometimes sways back and forth across the track. Sometimes it comes up, sometimes it goes back, and you're looking for it, and then it falls over behind you some way. It goes behind you.
This picture, just one of many snapped along the tracks.
Unknown. It's a mystery.
Over the years, people have come from all over, spending the night along the tracks, even throwing parties.
And the crowds sometimes would get so rowdy, and some even brought guns to shoot at the light to see if they could bring it down. There was one person killed from Bedford County out on the railroad track. He was so enamored by the light that he came out here and got too close to the track and got hit by a train, as I understand.
Looking at the ghost light will make your blood run cold. It moves along the railroad track and haunts your very soul.
As the town of Chapel Hill expands, there have been fewer reported sightings of the light, but Rickman believes it's there, and believers will still show up, hoping for a glimpse of that mysterious ghostly glow.
A spirit holds a lantern high for all the world to see. For the old ghost light of Chapel Hill remains a mystery.
For Haunted Tennessee, Josh Breslow, News 2.
Well, as we mentioned, we will have stories like this in every newscast today. If you miss any of them, you can also catch them over at WKRN.com.
Pat?
John, I'll have to admit that was a fine segment that Channel 2 had, but some constructive criticism, and I noticed that you hear both of us have been follically challenged with our hair, and you tried to cover it up with a hat from the national media.
Sun was in my eye. Pat, what I've been thinking about is how can we profit from this notoriety that the light is given. Is we have some
not excessive profits. We're just talking about a reasonable profit.
We have the Curleys, the Hayes, and the Stantons that give tours, and I just wonder if we might lead tours over there using some of these people.
The ghost light and the trestle. We've talked about the trestle.
Yeah. And you mentioned though that a couple of these agencies only deal with
cruises,
and
so we could maybe float the duck.
We could start out at Normandy Lake somehow.
Right.
I don't know how you get over the falls there.
Right.
But travel down Duck River. And,
I think it'd be a great experience.
Get out at Columbia.
And we want to re-emphasize now that we talked about taking dates there, and the first time that we talked this, we said if any women want to go, and you almost swallowed your teeth at the time thinking that I was going to, no, don't call us for an individual tour.
No.
We're happily married.
Nor would anybody want to, but I mean, we're not
probably
looking.
Probably so.
We're not looking for that.
That's correct. We're out.
I want you to know that.
But we certainly would take tours, and we're waiting for phone calls, and it'd be a great trip over there.
John Gray might even go with us.
He might.
But anyway, that was a good segment. We hope you enjoyed that. And
we may ask management to put our first segment back to back with the Channel 2 segment and run some kind of contest of who. You know, I'm not bashful about P-Head being good. That's enough. We're finished now with segment 73, and it was a fine segment, and we've got plenty more stories to go if management can stand one more trip. Thank y'all.
Talking history about this and that. It's conversations with John and Pat, with John and Pat, with John and Pat.
What does caring look like? This is what caring looks like.
This is setting an example for others.
This is rising to the challenge.
This is doing what works.
This is doing my part.
This is doing your part.
Each of us individually.
Acting as one. Keeping your distance, no matter how awkward it may seem.
This is wearing a mask.
Over your nose and mouth.
Like we are. Keeping our distance.
Each wearing masks.
Not under your chin.
Not above your head.
Not in your hand. But over your nose and mouth.
This is listening to the expert. If you'll just
wear one of these.
Caring makes community.
And this is what caring looks like.
Until COVID-19 is no longer a threat.
Until COVID-19 is no longer a threat.
Until COVID-19 is no longer a threat.
If you want to be a parent, it doesn't matter how you play, what you wear, how you dance, or even what direction life takes you. You just need to be there. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care don't need perfection. They just need you.
Now open in Tullahoma, Parkview Senior Living, an affordable, luxurious retirement community that active seniors love to call home. We encourage a healthy, independent lifestyle with few restrictions. Abundant amenities mean you live burden-free in a beautiful, safe home with other like-minded seniors. Still enjoy friends and family, along with your supplemental healthcare needs. See for yourself how wonderful retirement can be. Tour Parkview Senior Living today.
How long has it been since you raced a cheetah? Are your tornado creating skills getting rusty? Tired of being the only one in your neighborhood who hasn't built a dinosaur? Sounds like it's time to visit the Hands-On Science Center. The Hands-On Science Center is an indoor science playground. In this museum, please touch is the rule. Join us for weekly science demonstrations on space, lasers, lizards, rocks, and a whole lot more. No two visits are ever the same, so visit often to see our ever-changing exhibits and demonstrations. The Hands-On Science Center, 101 Mitchell Boulevard in Tullahoma.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
just takes one step to go the extra mile. Like calling your mama when you ain't talked in a while. When the car behind you finds out you've already paid. Everybody can make somebody's day, and it won't cost you nothing to give a little something. Plant a seed in the dry ground. Rain starts to trickle, turns into a ripple. Before you know it, it comes pouring down. Like that flower pushing through the dirt. We can leave a little love in the world. Whoa, whoa. Leave a little love in the world. Whoa, whoa. Tipping your waitress to help her make ends meet. Or giving your jacket to that old man on the street. It won't be wasted, it'll all come back around. It's not what you're giving up, it's what you're passing down. And it won't cost you nothing to give a little something. Plant a seed in the dry ground. Rain starts to trickle, turns into a ripple. Before you know it, it comes pouring down. Like that flower pushing through the dirt. We can leave a little love in the world. Whoa, whoa. Leave a little love in the world. Whoa, whoa. Leave a little love in the world. Don't worry about that debt now, now. 'Cause the more love you give, the more love you're gonna get. The more love you're gonna get. And it won't cost you nothing to give a little something. Plant a seed in the dry ground. Rain starts to trickle, turns into a ripple. Before you know it, it comes pouring down. Be that sun shining through the hurt. And like that flower pushing through the dirt, we can leave a little love in the world. Whoa, whoa. Leave a little love in the world. Whoa, whoa. Leave a little love in the world. Whoa, whoa. Leave a little love in the world. Whoa, whoa. It just takes one step to go the extra mile.
Randy Fincham.
Thank you.
You continue to amaze me.
Oh gosh. Well, thank you very much.
Continue to amaze me. That's the one that you wrote that one?
I wrote that with John Condrani, and John passed away of COVID back in October. I'm
sorry to hear that.
It was very, very sudden. He had some other issues going on too, and he's, well, you know, one week I'm talking to him, and 6 weeks later he passed away. But that was a song him and I both wrote, and guess it got cut by Steve Robertson. I think Steve's going to release it as a Christian country single. So
that is a great song. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful.
It's the beauty of songwriting is sometimes those things come out that you don't plan on coming out, and that song kind of snuck up on me. Yeah, I always liked it. And John played it out, and I would play it every now and then. But when John passed away, something, some more meaning came to that, because John touched a lot of our lives in the songwriting community. He was up in East Tennessee, and he was behind the Smoky Mountain Songwriters Festival. He loved the craft. He helped a lot of people, and he left a lot of love in the world. So every time I play that song, I think of him. So.
Sort of wants to bring a tear to a man's eye.
Oh gosh, yeah, I'm getting choked up now.
A little too early in the morning for a tear, isn't it?
I've had 2 cups of coffee, so I cry real easy in the morning.
I cry real easy. You don't do away with that. Do away with that tear, get a vintage tie.
Yeah, I love that. I need me a
Vintage tie.
I wouldn't know how to tie
This
it
is
right,
vintage
but,
tie day today.
I love it.
You know who acclaimed it that?
Who's that?
Me.
Well, I love that.
Today needed to be acclaimed something.
Wow, that should
So
be
I
a
thought
holiday.
we're going to make it vintage tie day.
Vintage tie day. I love that. That ought to be an official holiday.
This one's, told Peggy, this one's from about in the 40s.
Wow. In the 1940s?
Yeah, in the 40s, somewhere along in there.
No way, I love that.
I've always liked weird clothes and weird ties, and so I've been collecting vintage ties. I've got some really weird looking ties.
Okay,
old ties.
What was the vintage decade for the ties? I would say the 70s, right? Because they were really wide. It was almost like a canvas for artwork in the 70s.
Yeah, there was, excuse me, there was a lot of artwork in the 70s and the wide ties. You didn't have to have a napkin or a bib to hide to keep a spot in your shirt because those ties, you know, I did interior design for restaurants for a while, and what you did for the carpet on a floor of a restaurant is made it as confusing as you could to where when people build a plate full of food, when you swept it up, you couldn't tell it had been there. And I told Peggy like this one, that spot right there is in the tie, but if you was to drop some bacon grease on it, it'd look like that anyway, so you never know.
Maybe that was the intention behind it the whole time. This is the tie you can drop food on.
Might have been. Hey, talking about leaving a little love in the world, one of the things we're trying to do at Alzheimer's Tennessee is make Alzheimer's a memory.
Yeah.
And Fran was very excited yesterday. There was a first drug in 30 years approved by the FDA to help combat Alzheimer's.
That's
in 30
awesome.
years, first drug, and hopefully they don't know. We don't know yet exactly how it's pointed, where it's pointed, what parts, but it is pointed at Alzheimer's and other dementias, and it's such a horrible thing. If you've lived, which we have in our family, lived with numerous people that lose their mind and go away, and we've lost 2 cousins from Lewy body, fast onset, which happens quickly. And you know, I have a very dear friend, a songwriter friend right now, who's written and played in Nashville, played sessions for 40 years. And he has Lewy body right now. And to watch what has happened to his thought processes. But the thing about it is, they always remember music.
They always remember music.
The music.
Yes.
And the creative side of things. So what we're doing, we've had our Purple Olympics, so on Thursday, June the 17th, and that will be, next week? At Daddy Billy's at 6 p.m. we're having a trivia night, and Bill Baxter will run that. We had it there last year and it was a great success, and that is on Atlantic Street, downtown Tullahoma. And Spinelli's has a deal that night, a big slice of pizza and a drink for only $5.
Ooh, that sounds good.
And that goes along with that, and my friend Randy Fincham is going to provide some music down there. I didn't ask you what Bill has is 2 sessions, and I guess that's how they do trivia. I'm not a trivia player, but they'll play the first session and then take about a 20-minute break, and Randy's going to be there to provide entertainment.
The intermission
entertainment.
Yes.
And if he wants to, I'm putting you on the spot here, okay? People are supposed to come and check in at 6, and I don't think the thing starts till 6:30 or 7. And Bill asked me if you could come, if you would. If you couldn't, it's okay. Come a little bit early, maybe, and play some music at the beginning before they get started.
You had me at Spinelli's. I was going to get there early anyway. So
okay, got you. So it's $10 a person, and per team, and we have medals to give away, prizes to give away, just like our Purple Olympics. You know, we had gold, silver, and bronze medals, real medals that we gave for that, and Bill's worked really hard to get the questions great. He's a great guy. And it'll be out back, where it's all open air, and you know, if you're still a little bit reluctant about the COVID stuff, you know, a lot of people are vaccinated now, and things are opening up, and don't be afraid, because there'll be plenty of room out there for everybody.
Well, I'm glad to
and
be
there's a covered area for the entertainment as well.
I'm looking forward to it, glad to be a part of it. Certainly a worthy cause, and praise the Lord, it's a cause that we're making progress on.
Yeah, sure are.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do right now is let Randy play you another song, and even if you don't want to play trivia, you might show up there that night just to hear Randy Fincham play and drop a little something in the tip jar.
Well, that would be nice.
All right. What are you going to do this one?
Well, you know what? I listened on your previous segment, and you said something about Father's Day, and it kind of, you know, that snuck up on me. Father's Day is, I think they said June 20th. So I'm going to do a song that I wrote for my father. Actually, I wrote it by myself. I got one tattoo, and if my wife has her way, that's the only tattoo I'll ever have in my life. I got it when my father passed away.
Right.
And it's right here. I won't show you. I'll just keep her covered up. But it's got my dad's name on it, and the name you know, when he passed away. It's not the best tattoo in the world, but it's a special one to me.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. So this one's called Cross with a Crown Shoulder Tattoo. Got it on a midnight in July 2009, on a road trip that I took right after he died, at a shady old strip mall down in Myrtle Beach, in a little bitty shop called Palmetto Inn. Felt like sandpaper on my skin when that gun was a-buzzing, cutting it in. It's black and it's red, says the word Dad, gold ribbon with a day. He took his final breath, and it'll stay with me forever, like his memory will too. This cross with a crown shoulder tattoo. A tribute to a man who always loved me no matter what, who dang sure deserved much better than what he got. And a reminder to tell folks you love them every chance you get. Put it off till the morning, something that you'll regret. Yeah, my guilt and this ink will fade, but they're both with me till my dying day. It's black and it's red, says the word Dad, gold ribbon with a day. He took his final breath, and it'll stay with me forever, like his memory will too. This cross with a crown shoulder tattoo. Oh, I see it in the mirror every morning waking up, and when I wrap my arms around the woman that I love, sometimes I catch a glimpse of it sticking out under my sleeve, and I remember the man he was and the man I want to be. It's black and it's red, says the word Dad, gold ribbon with a day. He got called home to heaven, and it'll stay with me forever, like his memory will too. This cross with a crown shoulder tattoo. Now he's up there with Jesus and down here with me too, on my cross with a crown shoulder tattoo.
Randy Fincham, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We'll be right back after these messages.
I had a knee replacement, so they've got me at Life Care, which I'm very, very thankful for. I couldn't garden, I couldn't do my flower beds, I can't chase my little dogs. I have been in several therapy sessions for knees and back, and that's the best therapist I believe I've ever been to. It's tremendous because I'm able to walk again, but if it wasn't for the care, I wouldn't be where I am.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
Is this the year you want to get fit? If so, check out just some of the things Tullahoma Parks and Rec has to offer. Kickboxing, aerobics, silver sneakers workouts, swim lessons, boot camp, water aerobics, basketball, Zumba, yoga, pickleball, lap swimming, treadmill, karate. Get fit, Tullahoma, and have some fun with Tullahoma Parks and Rec.
The individuals with dementia, those with Parkinson's, those that have maybe mobility issues, need caregivers. Well, those caregivers are 24 hours a day at home, and they never get a rest. And if they have to go to work, they're kind of out of luck. So that's why Trinity came into existence 25 years ago, to allow the caregivers to have a safe center where they could put their loved ones, know they would be well cared for, stimulated, fed good nutritious meals, have activities to their level, and then the caregiver can stop by and pick them up and go on home and have some continuity into their life.
It's not invoice. It's not MSRP. It's not Christmas Day, although it may feel like it. It's the lowest prices in Middle Tennessee, period. It's a Stan McNabb Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or Stan McNabb Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac before these prices are gone forever.
How long has it been since you raced a cheetah? Are your tornado creating skills getting rusty? Tired of being the only one in your neighborhood who hasn't built a dinosaur? Sounds like it's time to visit the Hands-On Science Center. The Hands-On Science Center is an indoor science playground. In this museum, please touch is the rule. Join us for weekly science demonstrations on space, lasers, lizards, rocks, and a whole lot more. No two visits are ever the same, so visit often to see our ever-changing exhibits and demonstrations. The Hands-On Science Center, 101 Mitchell Boulevard in Tullahoma.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
Recently, I was at the country club where the Chamber of Commerce hosted Women Impacting the Community, and I had the opportunity to listen to a fabulous speech by Colonel Beverly Lee.
Women impacting the community. There's nowhere else I want to be. I want to be with people that take action and making our community a better place. What better place is there to be in this room with all you ladies and gentlemen who make this community a great place. As you see, I had a great career. 5 years on active duty, 25 years in the reserves. And my kids, once my kids grew up, graduated from college, I came home to your town and my town, Tullahoma. And it's a place where so many of you have impacted my life, or your parents have impacted my life. And in the case of those beautiful millennials here today that don't know me, don't know who I am, you continue to inspire me and you give us very much hope for our future. So today I just want to start by sharing a story or two about two women in my life. One of them is my grandmother, the other is my mother. My grandmother was a Rosie the Riveter. Many of you probably had Rosies in your life too. She was my grandmother Carrie. We called her Grandma Carrie. And at the age of a very young age, her mother died in the 1918 Spanish flu epidemic. And at a very young age, she was left in charge of her 5 younger siblings. And that lasted until her father remarried a few years later. I think it was about 5 or 6 years later. She went on to get married herself, have children, and in 1942 she went to work for the Redstone Arsenal as a Rosie the Riveter. And she worked with putting bombs together with very volatile chemicals. And in case you didn't know it, many women died and were severely injured in doing some of those jobs. But about 40% of the population that worked at Huntsville at that time at the Redstone Arsenal were women. And they paved the way for women to come into the workforce big time and change the way of life that we know it, as we know it, changed our country. Now, my mother is Miss Peggy. And Miss Peggy owned and operated Boyle's Kindergarten and Daycare Center. And she did that for about 25 years. And every day about 50 children would come into the kindergarten and they'd be ready to play, learn, and be creative. My mother was extremely creative. She was incredibly patient and organized. And she also was so good that she helped the state of Tennessee write the regulations and help develop the curriculum for public kindergarten and private kindergartens way back when. As I talk and I tell a few of the stories, I'm actually going to use some of the skills that I learned in kindergarten. Now, I'm a little bit old school because today's kindergartners use PowerPoint and webinar and Zoom. But I just brought some three-dimensional type props for you to help go through what I want to talk about today. So my favorite part was show and tell, so you get show and tell today from my kindergarten days. So how many of you remember salivating when you watched The Jetsons? Oh, I like it. There's a lot of people in the audience that do. Growing up with a robot, flying in cars, pushing a button and dinner's automatically there. They had an actually impeccably uncluttered home and video conferencing in The Jetsons. Or The $6 Million Man and The Bionic Woman. I wanted to be a bionic woman. Where they had super strength, special abilities, and the perfect body-brain biomedical device interface. And for decades, we watched Star Wars, Star Trek, and Stargate. And in Star Trek, they boldly went when nowhere man had ever been. And today, of course, the Force is always with us. Yeah. So. And if you remember watching The War of the Worlds, I actually worked with Steven Spielberg's production on that particular movie. We learned that guns and weapons may not be as effective in killing an alien being, but a bacteria or a virus can kill. And we've learned that so much this year. And if you remember the 2001 Space Odyssey, where the artificially intelligent computer HAL, if you remember HAL, he had this male monotone voice, and it was extremely calm all the time. Well, HAL had speech recognition, facial recognition. He could express emotions. He understood emotions. He maintained all the systems on the spaceship Discovery. But ultimately, HAL's programming was defective, and he killed astronauts. And before he was and then he was deprogrammed, and only one astronaut lived. So we have to remember that technology is a double-edged sword. For everything good, someone can create chaos. And we see it every day through ransomware, identity theft, misinformation, and fake videos. And many of the science fiction things that we see here are actually coming true. They're either true today or they're going to be true in the next 10 years. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of these technological advances. And here's my credentials. So when I was in college, I was a sales rep for the very first electronic video game made, Pong. I don't know if you remember, but that was my first venture into high tech. And for a quarter, you would sit down at a table and you would play a very slow-moving game, but fascinating electronic tennis game. You can laugh about that because it is extremely slow in comparison to what's going on today, but it was a cash cow for restaurants. They made a lot of money. Second, the Air Force sent me to schools, and you heard some of them. They taught me, and most of all what they taught me was a true love of learning. I really liked learning some of the stuff I learned. I was an intelligence officer at age 21, and I was standing in front of military pilots who had 20 years of experience and explaining to them what the technology, the tactics, and the weapon systems of our adversaries. And guess who those were? Russia and China. I also analyzed a lot of classified, highly classified intelligence from humans, from satellites, and electronic devices, and ultimately became pretty good at explaining to others what technologies our warfighters needed. My third credential is that when I was working at the Secretary of the Air Force office in Los Angeles, I got a phone call one day, and it was Karen Toffler. Well, Karen Toffler was the daughter of Alvin Toffler, and most of you are too young to know, but Alvin Toffler was the world's foremost futurist back in his day. He wrote the book The Future Shock and The Third Wave. And Karen needed somebody to come to her house and her father's house to set up his very first personal computer. Well, it just so happened my husband and I had bought a personal computer and we had put it together. And way back then you had to add the memory, you had to put in the modem, you had to create it yourself. And we had just spent a weekend doing that. And teaching ourselves WordStar and VisiCalc. So that's what we had just done. And so I got the phone call because, of course, the futurist Alvin Toffler would call in the Air Force when he needed something, right? So I was the only Air Force officer that knew how to do it. I went to his house and set up his first computer. So today what I want to do is I'm pretty excited about our future. And so what I want to do is I want to open up a crystal ball and I want to talk to you a little bit about what's coming in the next decade. And remember, it's only 8.5 years away. And so what do the experts say in the next decade is in our future and the lives of our children? So some of the predictions are by the year 2030, we're going to have 8.5 billion people. Today we have a little less than 7.5 billion people. And India is going to be the foremost populous country, not China. There's going to be more grandparents than grandchildren. There's going to be more robots than workers. There's going to be more computers than there are human brains. More searches done via voice and image versus text. And our world is going to be more open and less private. And by 2030, affordable artificial intelligence will achieve human intelligence level. 90% of the crimes in 2030 are going to be solved using artificial intelligence and surveillance, as well as other data collection methods. Facial recognition is already being used every day. Some say that the 2030 traditional police forces are going to be largely automated and about 50% of the current workforce. In 2030, 90% of your restaurants are going to have a 3D printed, some form of 3D printed food, and you're going to see 3D print shops where they're going to have model blueprints that are specific to you. And hopefully the clothes fit. So 2030, over 20% of the construction will be in printed buildings, and Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies will be in the mainstay. There's over 2 million people that are involved every year in car accidents. And it won't take long for the legislators to realize that driverless cars are substantially safer and more effective. And the privilege of driving, which my mother does not want to give up, is about to be redefined. And just last month, actually it was this month, the FAA approved drones to fly at night over people. Nobody asked me. Did they ask you? No, but that's what's going to happen. So in 2030, forest fires are going to be about less than 5% of what they are today. And if you remember a year ago, Australia had 41 million acres destroyed in fire. But they're going to have infrared drone imaging devices and monitoring systems. The transformation in education is going to be profound. Today we have all that open courseware. We've got Coursera, we've got edX, we've got Udemy, we've got Lynda, we have Khan Academy. There's so many I can't repeat. But teachers will only need to teach once, record it, and they can move on to help students truly learn. And actually, we're transitioning, or can I say, we're zooming into a new era of education. So if you think about it, they are projecting that 50% of your traditional colleges won't exist. And we are going to have micro colleges, very similar to some of your tech schools that we have now, where you can get a 6-month education, get a credential, and continue doing that throughout your life if you want to change jobs. And by 2030, at least 20% of all jobs will require some kind of coding. So artificial intelligence and machine learning require, well, they're going to lead most industries. Artificial intelligence requires lots and lots of data. The Internet of Things, our bodies, our clothes, our home appliances and cars are going to give them that data. 5G communications, it's going to move the data around, and it's all going to be interconnected. And that is one reason why China, the Chinese company Huawei, wanted to be first to market, because it's all going to be connected. So robots, okay, how many of you have a Roomba? My son's got a Roomba, cleans up all of his dog hair and all that stuff. Well, Roombas and robots are going to be prevalent throughout every house. And they already are in most houses. If you've got Siri or Echo or any of those kinds of things, you've got basically a robot answering all of your questions. But it's also going to be autonomous drones for our soldiers. Iron Man suits are actually in production right now, similar to what you see in in military movies and things like that. Nearly every physical task that's done by a human is going to be able to be done by a robot, and I'm looking forward to it in old age because I could use that help. And it's going to help all of the workers in construction and on the factory floor. We're going to have hyper-individualized medicines that are going to be made as you wait right after you received whatever prescription is. And doctors' visits are going to be a lot of them are going to be replaced by telemedicine and automated exams. Your reading glasses are going to be connected to the internet. So by 2030, scientists are going to perfect an active cross-species communication system, enabling some species to talk to each other as well as humans. Now it's actually, as a matter of fact, right now. They have already started this, putting human stem cells into monkeys and watching them replicate. Now right now that's only in Petri dishes, but it's lasted for 19 days. But they've also put human stem cells in rats and mice. And guess what? They got smarter. So in space, we're going to discover life and alien life, whether it's going to be microscopic, a fungi, bacteria, or water. And with our newly formed Space Force, there's going to be a Cold War of space. Because right now, China is building its own space station. Russia just announced it's not going to participate in the International Space Station anymore, so they're building their own. So the United States will be coming along and building their own space station. Major powers are going to have their own space stations. A lot of people are. It's not just the top three. But what's going to be interesting is we're all going to be competing to put thousands and thousands of satellites into Earth's orbit. But I'm going to give you a little hope, because the best prediction that I saw, one that gives me hope, is that by 2030, the world's religions will make a resurgence. That with communities of faith growing by 50% in the next decade, and that gives me hope. So how are we, as members of the Tullahoma community, going to keep our little town economically viable, thriving, and a great place to live? Tullahoma didn't wait for government assistance or to mandate broadband. You had the foresight to build fiber to the premises, fiber optic communications. And luckily, we're already heavily involved in a lot of these advanced technologies. TE Connectivity, they make connectors for 5G components, telecommunications, drones, data centers, electric vehicles, and industrial automation, just to name a few. The Cubic transportation systems, primed to help solve problems for autonomous vehicles. They're developing software and hardware for adaptive traffic management. And they can get secure payments and revenue also, which is very important. Gloyer Taylor Laboratories here in Tullahoma, they've won more small business innovation research contracts than any company in the state of Tennessee. And what do? They develop transformational technologies for the aerospace industry. Actually, NASA gave them a contract to develop the Disruptor suborbital rocket, a liquid rocket that offers dramatic reductions in weight, in the number of parts, in cost, and in complexity. It's our own SpaceX in our backyard. It's here in Tullahoma. And now that Vanderbilt has purchased Houghton Hospital, the top medical expertise and their resources are at our fingertips. So we're going to we talk about gene editing. Just know that Vanderbilt is also the home of BioVU. And what is that? It's one of the largest databases in the world of pediatric and adult DNA. And what do they do with that? They make genetic predictions of disease and drug action. And scientists all over the world use that database. So your economic development team here in Tullahoma, they are looking to find some voice technology companies to come to Tullahoma. From the largest companies of Google and Microsoft and all those, all the way down to your remote worker who understands voice technology because it's growing so fast. And I think last year they had 100,000 developers that knew how to do voice technology. And there's 18 million companies that need to hire them. So we need more voice technologists. Of course, you all know AEDC is the leader in hypersonics testing. It's been deemed critical, a critical technology for our Defense Department and funding and a top priority in funding for the Defense Department. There's going to be new materials that come out of that particular testing realm. There's going to be spin-offs that we can't even think about or understand at this particular time that come from that testing. And then, of course, you've got your microcraft that's here. It's always been in aerospace, mechanical, electrical, and mechatronic systems, engineering, and has over 20 years of experience in hypersonics. Actually, Microcraft was the prime contractor for NASA's X-43, the Hyper-X program. So I'm going to tell you one quick story here. General Scott Kane, he was the commander at Arnold before Colonel Garrity, and he's now the director of the Skyborg program at Eglin Air Force Base. And just a few days ago, your Air Force successfully tested in the air the Skyborg artificial intelligence-driven system in an unmanned jet, and it worked. So what's the impact of that? A couple of weeks ago, I received a text from my 14-year-old grandnephew, Connor. Goes to West Middle School. And Connor and I, we kind of text every now and then. He loves airplanes, so who better to talk to than me, right? So, but this is his comment. I have a love-hate relationship with the Skyborg program, mainly because I don't want drones to replace human pilots. So we need to make sure that Connor knows he's relevant, his dreams can come true, and that he has a place to thrive. Just like we have to help that 3.5 million truck drivers that are going to be displaced from autonomous vehicles. So as the Director of Entertainment for the Secretary of the Air Force in Hollywood, I got to work with some Steven Spielberg productions, as well as some other writers and producers. One of the things that I learned from his directing was that it's the people that matter. It's our humanity, and the human story matters. I actually brought, oh, here it is. This is a copy of one of the storyboards from War of the Worlds. And everything that you see on his storyboard is shown from Tom Cruise's eyes, because it's the human story that keeps us interested, that makes us feel what we feel. So why did I mention Rosie the Riveter? Well, because those women took action and they transformed the world. And that's what we need to do. We need to help transform our community and prepare it for what's going to happen over the next 10 years. But most importantly, we have to prepare our children. So when I moved here, there was an organization called Dream Tullahoma. And for many years, I really didn't understand exactly what Dream Tullahoma did. But guess what? I loved the name. Dream Tullahoma. What a name. So I want you to dream about what Tullahoma is going to look like in the year 2030 and how we can be the best possible community we can be. And I'm going to leave you and give you 3 ideas. So the City of Tullahoma is about to embark upon a community-wide comprehensive development plan. It's basically going to look at what do we want our city to be in 20 years. It's going to look at land use, at zoning, construction, building new homes, what the recreation facilities are going to look like. It's a huge project, and it hasn't been done in many, many years. We have to engage it. Go to their community engagement forums. Tell them what you think we need to be doing. Give them your input. I think we also need a strategic innovation plan, because we've got a lot of smart people in this town. And our city should help those innovators and inventors make their dreams come true and build the businesses that they want. So just like in the field of dreams, if we build it, they will come. They need a place to collaborate. The second thing I want you to do is to prepare your future self. You know, everybody, it's like when you're on an airplane, what do they tell you to do? You put your oxygen mask on first. You prepare to help those others. And everybody in this room has a growth mindset. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. You have goals. You know you still have a good future left, and you're going to impact it. So you have to prepare your future self. Like I said, 2030 is only 8.5 years away. And the last thing, and most importantly, is that we have to prepare our youth. I was a PTA president when my kids were in elementary school and when they were in high school. They liked it when I was in elementary school, not so much when I was high school, but we made it work. But one of the mottos of PTA that year was that all children are our children. And I love that. My mother believed it, I believe it, and I'm sure you believe it. So we need to support our schools in their quest to provide the best education and curriculum to our students. And I know this year we're going to have a new aviation program at the Tullahoma High School, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. And they're right now looking at a way to comprehensively carry the coding programs from kindergarten, from grade 3 to grade 12. And they're going to need that expertise. So as our teachers go through and teach our children and give them the knowledge and teach them how to critically think, we as a community, we need to provide the social learning, the safe places so they can meet, talk, learn, and collaborate. And above all, as parents, grandparents, and community leaders, we have to teach them character. The Christian values our nation was founded on morals. They need to understand, and they have to have ethics in order to deal and develop the new technologies. We need to help them be resilient, and most of all, we need to help them love to learn. And as long as they love to learn, technology won't be something to be feared, but it will be something that they can embrace for the good of humanity. Now, everyone in this room can help. You are the role models. And just like my grandmother, we can do it. So I want to thank you and congratulations to all of the nominees, and thank you for being here today. Thank you.
I am tremendously blessed to be living at Parkview and very happy to be part of a loving and caring community.
Best thing you can say is this really a great place to live. That's all there is to it, no doubt about that.
It's your home. You just do what you would if you were at your private home. You know, we love it. It's great.
It's just like having a whole neighborhood around you, and it's fun.
It's just a great place to live.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He does the work of 2 jobs, but only gets paid for one. He's tough enough to feed the man that gave him a lifetime of nourishment. He has the crazy strength to lift the man that raised him up without even flinching. That's right. No employee of the month bonus check here. This guy, this warrior, will always be by his father's side, even if his dad will hardly remember. Good luck finding a gym to train for that. If this guy isn't the toughest guy on the planet, then I don't know who is. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Is this the year you want to get fit? If so, check out just some of the things Tullahoma Parks and Rec has to offer. Kickboxing, aerobics, silver sneakers workouts, swim lessons, boot camp, water aerobics, basketball, Zumba, yoga, pickleball, lap swimming, treadmill, karate. Get fit, Tullahoma, and have some fun with Tullahoma Parks and Rec.
Hello, I'm Ray Norris, Mayor of Tullahoma. I want to thank the citizens of Tullahoma who've been following the CDC guidelines for helping prevent the spread of COVID-19. You've been wearing your mask, you've been getting your vaccinations, and I'll tell you, it's working. Today, our positivity rate is less than 5%. That's the lowest it's been since the earliest days of our pandemic. So, now I want to urge each of you to continue to follow these guidelines, and together, let's get this pandemic behind us and get our country back to the old normal where we need to be. Thank you.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
ladies and gentlemen, we're back, and I have one of my favorite guests on today to find out what's going on in Tullahoma and the surrounding area, Mr. Winston Brooks.
Great. Good morning.
I don't even know what to title you anymore because you're doing so many things. Winston has been injected into the bloodstream of Tullahoma in more than one portal.
Right. Well, and that's a good thing. Just so people know it's not like a virus.
No, it's not a virus. Yeah. It's medicine.
And you're my favorite television host, by the way.
Well, thank you. I'm the only.
It's great to be here this morning. Great day to be in Tullahoma.
Only one in town.
So so I'm the director of community development in Tullahoma, and just have fun every day trying to grow the community and keep us growing and productive and making it a great place for us to live and work and play.
So, as Director of Community Development, has that gotten you more involved in planning and codes and those kind of things?
That's exactly right. So, Community Development traditionally manages the planning and the zoning. And so we have recently hired Mary Samaniego, who you had on the show a while back.
Right. I enjoyed having her.
Oh, yeah. She's been great for the city. 25 years of experience out of Tampa, moving here. And
smart. She is a smart lady.
Very smart lady. And so we're glad to have her. And as we were talking earlier, so many people are moving here from the larger metro areas. So it's great to see that. But, I don't want to bore the audience. I do have two really exciting things I want to talk to you about today.
Let's go.
Number one is the Tullahoma Independence Day celebration and the Think Tullahoma 24 plan.
Okay.
2040 plan. So first, let's talk about fireworks.
Okay.
That's going to be July 3rd. It's going to be on Saturday this year, so it's going to be great. It's going to be at Fraser McEwen Park at 3 p.m. to 11. There's going to be excellent music, food, kids zone, games, the routine.
The whole deal.
Whole deal. More fireworks this year. I got some 8-inch shells. The music is out of Nashville. It's the headliner is Six Wire.
Six Wire's coming back. Hey, Six Wire's coming back, y'all. Great band.
Great brand. The Predators house band. They played for the NFL draft up there. And the opening for them is Vinyl Radio, and they're going to play until 11 o'clock that night. So that'll be a lot of fun. There's opportunities for sponsors. If you own a business out there and want to sponsor, please contact myself at City Hall at 455-2648. Tell me you want to be a sponsor. We also have a new face down at City Hall named Jordan Wilkins, and he's also helping with the sponsors and the fireworks this year. So he may talk to you as well. But there's plenty of opportunity. The deadline for that right now, we're trying to get it to June 14th so we can get as much publicity to those sponsors as possible. So time is running out, so please give us a call. Also, vendor opportunities. So if you have a food truck or other service or product you want to sell, contact us and we'll get you set up this year. And so we need to be able to provide lots of food for we expect to be about 4,000 people down in the park. And then, there's no telling how many people are sitting around the perimeter watching.
And then will the stadium be open for seating for the fireworks show?
Typically it is open.
Yes.
But again, the best seating is down on the baseball field because you can get the close-up fireworks as well as the big shells.
Okay.
But there's no telling how many people are in the
football stadium. Yeah.
That's sort of the traditional. That's where they had done it before.
And in every parking lot on Jackson Street,
people filled up.
They'll be full looking over the football field right at the baseball field.
And it's such a great tradition, been going on since 1968, except for the 1 year of COVID, 2020.
Right.
Only year I think they missed. So that's great. So the other, though, exciting news, and we really need the community to come out and be a part of this, is the Think Tullahoma 24 plan. So this is a plan that will look at land use, where we want to build new houses, build new commercial areas, where we may need to build new schools. And we recently, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen approved a contract with a group called, consultants called the Walker Collaborative.
Right.
These are some really top-notch engineers and planners. One of them, actually, the transportation engineer, is from Tullahoma. And so she'll be there, so that's exciting.
Yes.
But this is going to kick off on July 6th, and we're going to have our first public engagement at Tullahoma High School in the lecture hall, 5 o'clock. And we're asking for the community to come out, meet these consultants, and also give them their feedback, learn how the process is going to work. And so we need the input from the community. This is not successful unless we hear what the community wants.
What time of day is that?
That's going to be 5 p.m. on July 6th, which is, let's say, Tuesday.
After work for a lot of people, a lot of times those meetings happen at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, no, this is going to,
and people can't go because they're working. So.
Right. And so we also are going to have other ways that people can communicate with us. Obviously, in the day and age, we'll be doing all kinds of digital surveys. We'll have a website, social media. But we also are going to continue to do with the way COVID is right now, and hopefully it stays. I looked today, only 17. So we're going to have 5 public meetings.
Good.
And the first one is going to be July 6th, and then we're going to have one in each quadrant of the city later on in the fall.
Okay. Now, did you say Tullahoma 24 or Tullahoma 2040?
2040.
Okay.
We're looking 20 years in the future.
So I just wanted to clarify that to make sure that people understood. We're looking to plan for 20 years ahead.
Long-range planning.
Long-range planning, and that's why it's so important to have your input.
That's right.
How do these folks know how to represent you and do the best for you if you don't give them your input on what you'd like to have?
That's it. And if anybody watching wants to call and talk about the plan, wants to know more information, they can reach out to me down at the Planning and Zoning Office. And that number is 455-2282. 455-2282.
And as far as I'm concerned, he could probably undo that tie, unbutton his shirt, and have a superhero patch underneath there because he's one of my heroes. Winston Brooks, thank you, my friend. Folks, I guess right now it's time to wish you goodbye, and Winston and I'll just close this show out and tell you how much we enjoy being in front of you and helping bring you local information for the last 30 years on Channel 193 in Tullahoma, on Charter, on our YouTube page, and on our Facebook page, and around the world. We love you. Go buy something from our sponsors, and we'll see you next time.